Hi everyone, Ed here from Shades of Vengeance. So, in the last video, I created Fred Mugiono, I've now created Jim Dugan. And like many of the events in the early books of Richard's series, Jim Dugan is in fact a traitor. He is a member of the Belt, but he is also working with the Lunar Republic in order to overthrow the Triplanetary Confederation, because the Belt believe that they can do better on their own or with the Lunar Republic's help. So, there is a mutiny aboard the ship, and Jim Dugan enters the security office, where Fred is all alone. They're not in combat at the time, so he's the only person on duty. And they have a brief conversation, during which I'm going to give Fred the opportunity to notice that, in fact, maybe Jim is not on the level here. So I'm going to have him roll a Charisma and Investigation. And he's rolled a 10, and a 6, and a 7. Anything better than a 7 is a success. 10 gives you a bonus dice, and he got a 4 on his bonus dice. So those weren't successes. But the 10 and the 7 remain, and they are 2 successes. So let's see how good Jim's Charisma Stealth was. He's got 6 dice for this. And unfortunately for Fred, Jim seems to have done a lot better with 5 successes and a bonus dice. 6 total successes. So Fred does not realise that anything's up. He thinks he's just having a friendly chat with Jim when Jim pulls out his gun. So I'm going to give them both the opportunity to roll initiative. Oh, and I'm sorry, I haven't filled in Fred's initiative. I'm sorry about that from the last video. The combination of his willpower and his wits is, in fact, 7. Both Fred and Jim are going to roll 1 dice. Oops, 1 of each colour. And they're going to add it to their initiative. They both rolled 1s. So they're going to add it to their initiative number, and that decides who goes first. So Fred has the impressive score of 8, thanks to his initiative of 7. And Jim has the sadly inferior score of 6, thanks to his 7, thanks to his initiative of 6. So Fred is going to go first, and Fred has realised that Jim is going to be a problem, so he's going to use his fairly considerable strength for an officer, and he's going to grab Jim and begin to grapple him. So that's going to be a strength and a brawl, which is 5 dice total, 3 plus 2. And Jim is going to fight back, but he has no brawl skill, so he's going to have to use strength and luck. However, I'm going to give Jim a small advantage because he did get the drop on Fred, and in his turn, he's going to be able to fire his gun as normal. So, here we go. We have a versus roll here, and amazingly, because he was unskilled and rolling luck, Jim has to roll 10s in order to get a success. He's actually rolled 2 10s and nothing else. And although Fred only has to roll 5 or better, he's only rolled 1 5. The remainder were 2s, 3s, and 1s. If you roll more 1s than successes, it's a fumble, but he hasn't fumbled because he had 1 1 and 1 success. So, unfortunately for Fred, his attempt to grapple Jim when he walked in or when he became a threat actually resulted in Jim elbowing him hard in the face, and he took pain damage. So, it's now going to be Jim's turn, and as I said, I'm going to allow Jim to fire his gun. So Jim is going to fire his gun for a total of wits and gunnery, minus Fred's defense, which is 2. He's going to get to fire his gun at Fred and try and kill him. He's looking for a 7 or better to hit. He's rolled 2 8s, so that's 2 hit successes. He's now going to try and roll to damage with the handgun, and you may or may not be able to see that. It's a 7 and a 9. So, Fred is wearing no armor because he's an officer on board the ship. So, if I roll a 7 on any of these dice, either of these dice, then Fred is going to take damage. If I roll a 9 on either of these dice, then Fred is killed. I rolled neither. The bullet just grazed Fred, and Fred got away with it. So Fred is now going to have another go, and he's going to attempt to brawl his enemy into submission once again. He feels like he was unlucky the last time. So once again, they're each going to roll 5 dice, thanks to strength and brawl, and strength and luck. Now, again, Jim has to roll 10s to get a success, and Fred only has to roll 5s, so the stats are very much in Fred's favour. And it looks like it's played out a bit better for Fred this time, because Jim has in fact managed to get a moderate fumble. No successes. A 9 is not a success, remember, it's got to be a 10. And 2 1s. So that's 2 more 1s than successes, that's a moderate fumble. That actually adds 2 extra dice onto Fred's successes, of which he already had 3. So he's now going to roll to try and break Jim's neck. And if I roll a 9 on any of these dice, he will succeed. And I've rolled a 9. So you can see here, there's a 9. He's rolled a 9 on one of his dice, so Fred grabs Jim, who, narrowly missed shooting him with his handgun, breaks Jim's neck, and hits the alarm. The mutiny, I wonder if it succeeds or fails. I'm sure that Jim is not the only one.